Okay, at this time I'm going to call to order the December 15th, 2021 Poly and Trail Management Council meeting. Time is 3:05, and if we can pay respects to the flag, and Donnie, if you can lead us into invocation after the respects. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, thank you for being with us here today with our communities. Please be with us, our friends, family, and loved ones in Oxford. Our dear sister community, please help us as leaders to offer strength and guidance to our residents who need us during this trying time. Please help the trail continue to be a beam of light, peace, and respite for all those who travel upon it. May you wish us all Merry Christmas and a safe and healthy, happy New Year. And this we pray in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Donnie. Okay. In the absence of Recording Secretary Allison Kemp, Mike, you've been doing the role. Would you care to continue that? Councilor or Vice Chair McDonald, would you want to assume the secretary roles for this meeting?
Sure.
Okay. If you can call the roll, please.
Donnie will lend me a piece of paper. Roll call for attendance. Ed Brakefield. Here. Donnie Steele.
Here.
Karen Watley. Here. Curtis Wright.
Here.
Jonathan Knoll.
Here.
Mike McDonald. Here. Allison Kemp.
Joe Medora is a
And
Bruce Pearson. Bruce is on his way. He called him.
okay, we do have a quorum.
Yes.
Next on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. I have two amendments to make. They'll both be under new business. We'll add item 9F, which is the banner on the Larry Obrecht Bridge. And 9G, Mike, I'll let you, what would you like to title that?
I'd like to ask the council's indulgence to add a request for a letter of support for Village of Leonard Park grant.
I'd like to add, Curtis, I'm going to put it under unfinished business. I still need insurance for.
Okay, so under unfinished business, item 8E would be insurance for easement for parcel 0909-283-012.
Thank you.
Okay, any further amendments to the agenda? Hearing none, a motion is in order to approve the agenda as amended.
I make a motion that we approve the amended agenda December 15th, 2021 for the Poly and Trail Council meeting.
Second. Okay, motion by Councilor Noel, second by Councilor Watley to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. On to the consent agenda. We have bills, or excuse me, November 17, 2021 meeting minutes. Bills in the amount of $3,163.58. Financial reports and trail manager report. Any questions, concerns, changes? Hearing none, any motion on that to approve?
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda for approval of the November 17th, 2021 meeting minutes. The treasury reports, approval of bills to be paid $3,163.58 for November 2021. And the receipt and file of the finance report for November 21 and the trail manager report for December 2021.
Motion, second of the motion.
I will.
A motion by Councilor Noel, second by Treasurer Steele to approve the consent agenda as presented. Further questions, comments? If not, Vice Chair McDonald, can you call the roll, please?
Ed Brakefield.
Yes.
Donnie Steele.
Yes.
Karen Watley. Yes. Curtis Wright.
Yes.
Jonathan Knoll.
Yes.
Mike McDonald, yes. Joe Medora.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on, public comment. I see no public in the audience, so we will move on to citizen rep report. Kevin, anything to report to us?
Yes.
Okay, no report for this month. Okay, we're going to move on now to unfinished business. First item is the consideration to allow for profit events on Pauline Trail. As you're aware, council, we discussed this last month, and in your packet, we have a couple of examples in here. One that Councilor Watley forwarded that they used for Orient Parks, and there was another one that was put in here for Paint Creek that we had previously. I don't know if that's changed or not, Donnie, but I included it anyway. And then also I emailed some information from the state of Michigan that was included. I have copies for Bruce and for Ed because the emails didn't go through. And also in front of you, I also have a special events application from the Village of Oxford. So what my proposal is to council is to take the information received and then come back next month with somewhat of like a proposed draft of what we'd like to see. But what I'd like to do is see if there's any members that want to take the task on and bring something back to council. So we'll open up the floor for comments, suggestions, and how we want to attack this if we do. Any comments? Go ahead, Joe.
So have you guys already addressed the issue with the state that it's okay to do them? I only caught part of that conversation last month.
Well, what was forwarded to you, and I only have 2 other hard copies. This is what was forwarded, the guidelines for level of use calculation. This is what the state uses. So what we're looking at is events like what was requested last month for the Frank and Frenzy run as part of the Pauline Trail. So we would customize this application to our use, but potentially using some of the state's guidelines for that, as well as the Orient Township, Paint Creek Trail, and the Village of Oxford if necessary.
I apologize, I didn't read through that because I didn't know it was going to be on me until last night, so.
That's all right. That's all right, because I don't see us acting on anything but to get a group together or a committee or whatever and bring back some information if possible.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I think it would be in order for us to do an informal canvass and see if there is a desire to allow for-profit events. It will save us a lot of work. If it's not considered a desirable process or activity, just so that we know, how we.
Sure. So you want to take like a consensus of the council to say they want to continue? Bruce, welcome to the meeting now. You can sit over here if you'd like, unless you want the room. Unless you want the room, you'd have to put up with me.
It wasn't that I was being picky,
Yeah.
so I sit over here.
Yeah.
But I need to keep an eye on it.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to take a non-binding canvass of the council members regarding the activity of for-profit events on the Pollyant Trail.
Any second to the motion?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice Chair McDonald, second by Councilor Knoll to take a consensus vote to see if they want to continue with the for-profit exploration of events on the trail. So we'll start on the left-hand side. Ed, you in favor of continuing or leaving it the way it is?
Last month, you might recall that I had a very uneasy feeling with profit going somewhere else other than Pollyanna, so I would like to see it not go forward.
Non-profit? No profit, okay. NP for no profit and profit. So we got one non-profit. Vice Chair McDonald,
I would go with no profit.
no profit. Treasurer Steele,
Profit.
profit. Councilman Watley, profit. Go down to Councilman Medora.
I didn't know if you were going to, I was vote.
Is that a
I
vote?
went informal if it was going to work or not. Part of the conversation I recall last month was, he mentioned about providing some funding of his profits to nonprofit organizations organizations or organizations, shared organizations, then the comment was made, why not Pollyant Trail? So I think if you did go with profit, any shared profits should stay with Pollyant Trail versus some third party. But under those conditions, I think it'd be worthwhile. Again, I share the concerns of the other, that you open up a can of worms to everybody and brother wanting to do on any trail that I know, that they can make money. So I would support the profit if the profits were shared with Pollyant Trail.
Councilor Knoll?
I'm concerned about the upfront work that required to make it for profit, how much that would cost by the time we went through legal, and would there be, is the benefit there? I don't know the study. Maybe some of you folks are for profit we could bring in past experience in other trails or other community activities like the Pollyant Trail. Would the means justify the cost, or the cost justify the means? So there would be a cost up front to put this in place. Would there be benefit? And if the benefit should come back to the trail.
Was that a 4 or?
Not 4.
4. Okay. Councilor Pearson?
I really think that our real mission is the trail, and that we should be concerned with just the trail. And we're providing access for the public for the trail. I don't think I'm really interested in doing it for profit. I think that whatever we do is for the citizens to enjoy the trail, and if we do it for profit, some of that interferes with the people using the trail who are paying the taxes to use the trail, so I'd say no.
Okay. So it's back to the chair to either create a tie or break a tie. Looking at the state, they do charge for their use of the trail on this, and I think we should actually maybe not necessarily approve, but at least bring something to council for consideration. Plus, would give us more time to actually take a look at it. So I'm going to vote for profit, making it a 5-3 to continue. Ed, you have a comment?
Yeah, a few years back, we, Addison Township, had a for-profit for Pollyant Trail. All of the profits went to Pollyant Trail. Okay, it was a barbecue, we had a trail ride, etc., and it was for Pollyant Trail. I have no problem for profit if it goes back into Pollyant, but if nothing goes back into Pollyant, that's where I would like to draw the line. I brought that up at the last meeting. His comment was, nothing is planned to go back to Pollyant Trail. We're going to give it to another nonprofit. And that's where my problem was.
I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I don't see us not getting any funds from the event if this goes through. How much that would be having to be determined. And Donnie might be able to speak to that from the Paint Creek side of events, that when they fill out their paperwork or whatever it is, and the percentage goes back to Paint Creek.
Yeah, the philanthropy is, but it seems to me just by looking at that, they do allow the profit, and I'm just trying to think of, us. We have denied things in the past, and I guess that's the beauty of it, because when you have the commissioner looks at the application, you can determine whether or not you want it or not based on how many people, if there's, tough water and there's going to be 5,000 people, we're going to say, no, that trail can't handle it. But if it's 100 people that he expects, and, then we get a piece of the pie, and then they're going to, like you said, dine and use our restaurants and stuff, then I think that it's a win-win. People, you have to remember the entrepreneurs and the business people, and I don't know about this guy, but a lot of them are residents. And it is public property, and they should be able to use the public as well. And you can't squeeze them out of using public property, even though they use it for their benefit, because that is their benefit, if that makes sense. I mean, they're benefiting from the trail. It just so happens to be you're capitalizing and benefiting at the same time.
Yeah.
I would just kind of mimic that sentiment there. Would be, we're just looking at it one-sided for the fees for using the trail, and then we're looking at the whole economic impact of the entire region. Bringing in all these groups to Leonard and Addison, where they might You might not see those individuals go through the stores and purchase gas, and there'll be a lot of benefit to the trail and to the communities.
All right, so, Vice Chair McDonald.
I can only speak for myself and the village that I represent, but I'm looking at it because I am a small community. The amount of management and the amount of time will have an impact on our administration. Aside from the time we spend on it at these meetings, going over these applications and events, our trail manager is going to have to be out there at every single event, making sure that that time is used the way the Trail Council intends it to be used. And there's preparation time before and after the meeting with the officials. So that's the basis I'm looking at. How much time do we want to spend as a council managing events that typically don't produce that much profit for us? From an economic point of view, we have benefited greatly from the trail. So my attitude is that doesn't bother me. The use of the trail doesn't bother me so much, but I just see that it's going to be another step higher of a drain on our resources and our management. So that's my point of view. Thank you.
Councilor Pearson.
I just have one thing. You know, we also have to look at the increased cost for the sheriffs in our town to be there, our fire department, our ambulances. Whenever somebody has a for-profit and there's a lot of people there, they're going to expect that there's going to be a medical or something provided. And that's just another thing on our community to another expense. So, I mean, these things have to be all worked out. If we're going to do it for profit, somebody's going to have to pay for it. And I hate to say it, but, you know, if we're going to do it for profit and we don't know where the donations are going to, they could be going out of state, they could be going anywhere else. I think if we ever thought about this, we better know exactly where these donations are going to and who's benefiting from them.
Okay, we'll go to John next, and Kevin, you have your hand up?
I'm concerned about all the costs as well, but it's my understanding that Tough Mudders, for example, they make a donation for the sheriff's department, they make a donation for the fire department, as well as for the emergency services. But that's a very, very, very large event. So if we have events on the smaller side, where does that obligation fall? Would that fall on the communities to pay for that, or can that be baked in to the use of the trail? Then we have the issue of how we're going to manage it, how we're going to make sure that each entity pays their fair share for use of the trail, and that's what my concern is.
Aaron, you responsible?
We do a lot of these on our safety paths, and it's all goes solely on the person holding the event. So ahead of time. So they
Push it back to their level saying,
absolutely. They handle our paperwork and insurance requirements, and then we hand them off to the Oakland County Sheriff's Office and Orion Township Fire Department. They contract with the Oakland County Sheriff directly. We get confirmation from the Sheriff's Office that it's all handled, and the same with the fire department.
is that in the package you give them when they apply for usage?
Yes, it is, just kind of like a little blurb, but it's mostly based off of, are you closing new roads, what's your...
That you will follow up to make sure that that's done?
Kevin?
As a citizen rep, I think I should just maybe say one thing. I know as a user of the trail, I'm going to be asking the question if I'm out there and there's roadblocks and signs saying that on this date this is going to happen and whatever. And that I, would represent the feeling of a lot of people who just don't understand. They're out there for the reason of using the trail and they wouldn't understand why there's events on the trail. However, I do think that can be mitigated if there are some policy that's strong enough so that if I was to complain or come to a meeting and say, well, why is why are you allowing this? And I understand this is a profit-making group. And what then do you have to stand on when the next nonprofit or profit-making group comes up? What criteria do you have, more than just saying, well, we can say yes or no? I would suggest that it would have to be stronger than that to be able to say, well, we limit to so many events a year, if there's even that many requests, or this or that or the other thing. Just so that you can go back, if people bring an issue that becomes even political, to be able to say that there are some rules and regulations. It's not just us saying from one event to the next whether we want it or not, but there are truly some criteria that have to be met. So throwing a couple things in there together. And one last thing is just, I don't know whether the insurance policies that we have, I know we always ask for, if there's an event, profit or non-profit, that they have to have a certificate of insurance, they must go insured. Might be worth a check with our insurance just to make sure that if it's a profit-making event, that it doesn't fall under different standards. Those are my thoughts.
Okay, everybody's got thoughts on this, but I want to wrap this up to move on. What I'd like to do is bring back a draft copy next month. I don't know if these 4 examples will contain what we want, but also what I like. These concerns, just flow those to me so I can incorporate this into some sort of a document. I'll take the lead on it and see what I can come up with, and then with your concerns, hopefully they can be incorporated into making this work. And that's only if the council approves it. And this might change between now and next month. Go ahead, Mike, last comment.
I'm glad to help.
Okay.
With you with that,
All right.
if I can, anyway.
All right, so Mike, Aaron, and myself will collaborate, and if you have those concerns, you have police enforcement, insurance policies, forward those to me, or Aaron, or Mike, and copy the 3 of us on their concerns. So nothing set yet. We'll deal with this on January 19th, our next meeting, and see where this goes, if anywhere. So we'll move on to our next subject, and this will be a permanent restroom update. I guess I'll defer to you, Linda. And this is gonna probably be combined somewhat to the restroom update and the grant program, but I want to start with the restrooms because it's going through Orchard Hills and Climate, the application through the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation. So go ahead, Linda.
Okay, we have submitted the grant to Ralph C. Wilson for designs and pricing through OHM, Mark Landis. We've got confirmation this morning that they did receive it and it is being reviewed. We are working with Sam Timko here. I did speak with her on Monday, I believe it was, here in the office. I've sent her several emails. She's aware of it. I did leave her a voicemail today telling her to be here, but she's not here today. So we are going to be following up closely. I'm going to become a real thorn on her side. And we're going to get it done. So we will be submitting that to Oakland County Parks and Rec grants for Orion Township only. We're not able to submit anything into Addison Township because I think, Bruce, you are using your grant opportunity through Oakland County for the watershed part, correct?
Correct.
So we're going to see what else we can dig up for that. So hopefully we can find some other grant opportunity to make Lake George happen, no run. But right now we're full steam ahead in Oregon.
Do we have other grant opportunities?
We have passport grants. There's a couple other foundation grants we can look at. Everything's kind of coming in quickly, so we're working on it.
All right, do you need assistance on any of that?
Probably.
All right. Well, let me know, Linda, so we can keep things rolling here. All right, any further update? Okay.
So you're asking Sam to be,
To help write, to write the grant.
and then submit it on our behalf through Orion Township.
Correct. Yes. And the grant is due January 14th. Yeah, so we have to get that in. We have all the pricing, we have all the designs from OHM, we have the landscaping, so we're in a good position. We just gotta get the verbiage in. Get it?
There was a meeting that the county had. Did you go to that meeting?
I was not able to attend the Zoom meeting. I had other commitments, but it is online. So I'm going to be watching that online.
Thank you.
We'll go to item 8C on our agenda. That would be the Oakland County Parks and Recreation, Trailways, and Parks Improvement Grants Program update. Linda, you alluded to that. It's due on the 14th.
Correct.
And this has to go through Orion Township because it's located in their facility. Donnie, when's your first meeting in January? Before the 14th? For January?
After the day after.
First Monday of the month? Okay.
It's the 4th.
Okay.
Yes, we have one on the 4th and then one on the 18th.
Okay, so in the packet, council, I put together the program. We went through this the previous month on what the deadline is and the application requirements on that. So it's just a matter of making sure that this gets to your agenda for consideration to be approved to move on. So let me go ahead.
A letter of support would be greatly appreciated from all the township supervisors and village managers.
There's only one.
There's 2 village managers and there's...
Are you looking at from the Polly Trail in because Orion Township's the plan, you probably want a letter from the Polly Trail Management Council.
Council. So Curtis, I need a letter of support.
Okay. I have to have it approved first. So I'm more than happy to do that. There's a draft motion in the packet. If there's no further discussion.
I was trying to turn it off.
That's all. Any other items that need to be addressed on this issue? Okay. If not, motion is in order, or I'll read the motion. I move that the Polly Trailway Management Council request the Orion Township Board of Trustees to apply for a grant for the Oakland County Parks and Recreation, Trailways, and Park Improvements Grant Program for the placement of a permanent restroom to be located at Water Depot in Orion Township. Any additional cost above the grant award if received shall be paid by the Polly Trailway Management Council. Okay, motion by Chairperson Wright, second by Councilor Watley to request Orion Township to apply for this grant for Oakland County Parks. Any further discussion? If not, Vice Chair McDonald, can you call the roll on this, please?
Donnie Steele?
Yes.
Aaron Watley?
Yes.
Curtis Wright?
Yes.
Jonathan Knoll?
Yes.
Mike McDonald, yes. Joe Madore?
Yes.
Bruce Pearson?
Yes.
Ed Brakefield?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, good. Good, so we'll get those letters out to, do you want the attention of Supervisor Barnett? Okay. One minute. You keep reminding me of that.
No.
Okay, next item is the fall brush cut update. I guess I will, well, let me give it a summary. We contracted with Litchfield Mowing to do the trail, and in your packet it was the quote that was presented to us, signed by Keith Litchfield, and indicates that he would mow the whole trail. There's an error in the memo indicating it was 19 miles. We confirmed that it was 16.9. And what has happened is that he actually stopped mowing the trail at Rochester Road, leaving about 2.25 miles left to mow. He picked up his equipment and essentially left the job and was not completed per the contract. Since then, we as in Linda, Councilor Knoll, and myself had a phone conversation with Mr. Litchfield. He indicated to us that he was unaware there were 300 stumps, that's his quoted number, that caused a lot of wear and tear on his machinery, causing him to have $2,000 of repair expenses, and he said he could not complete the job for the price that he quoted. So, Linda, I'll leave it to you to continue that story, and Councilor Knoll, if you want to continue after that, I'll leave that up to you, and then I'm going to open the floor up to what council wants to do to move forward on this. And Mr. Litchfield said he would be available if you want to choose to call him for a conversation. So Linda, go ahead.
Let me start with, before he started the job, before he brought his equipment out, he told me that he was unable to do the job for the $3,000. He would need an extra $1,500. I did tell him that because of the maintenance we've done over the last 4 years, the trail has gotten much easier to mow. He was concerned it was going to take him more than the 2 days he's quoted and done in the past. And I said, no, most of the trail now is a mow and go. There's not a lot of brush to cut back. We've been aggressively addressing our brush, our growing seasons. So I said, you'd have to ask the council for that. I am not authorized to give any money. I said, do the best you can. I'm not expecting you to mow 10 feet on either side. I understand that most of the trail is mow and go. He did come out after a couple of week delay because of equipment he had broken and because of weather. He was going to come out one Tuesday, and it was that torrential rain we had, so I told him I really didn't want him out with heavy equipment and torrential rains on a Tuesday. So he had some personal issues. He was delayed coming out a couple of weeks. He did come out. The work he did do, I found to be very satisfactory. He did not mention anything about the stumps until Chairperson Wright and Mr. Knoll, I spoke with him the other day. That's when it came to light that he said he broke his equipment. He never indicated anything like that to me. That's pretty much where we're at. Chairperson McDonald and I did take a tour of the area that he was concerned about with the 300 stumps. And I defer to Chairperson McDonald.
Okay, Councilor Nolan, you can do the thing, and then I'll go over to Vice Chair McDonald if he has comments.
Just a brief update. Every time I sit down and touch this subject, I learn a little bit more. And I think there is confusion on both sides. Just today, going through the packet, there's a December 9th memo or email that was sent out that said he did damage his brush cutter, and he talked about the 300 stumps. I didn't know about this 2 days ago when I was talking to him on the telephone. So let me surmise to say that before the start of the job, I had a verbal discussion with Linda that he said that he needed $1,500 more. We, as a representative of the trail, said that you would do the best you could, go ahead and start the work. He did the best he could as far as what you just said. As far as he's concerned, he did the best he could. He stopped. We're in this dilemma now. We called him on the telephone, and he said that he can't come out, first of all, can't come out till spring. Said he would somewhat reluctantly come out in spring and finish the job. And then there was a discussion of $1,500 extra, but on that very same phone call, he dropped it to $1,000 for next year if he came out and finished the job. So that would bring the job up to $4,000. So I think we have confusion on both sides. I think we need to come to an agreement that we're happy and he's happy. I don't think we need to lose him as a contractor because from the research I've done, he is very reasonable in his pricing. He's done a great job, and the other sources of contractors will be 3 and 4, possibly 5 times the amount that he is charging. So in summarizing real quick, I would do a lessons learned. If we were to continue with him and come with the board's agreement to move forward, we need to do our due diligence up front, work with them as we know we've worked with them in the past for our lessons learned, and move forward.
Okay, Councilor McDonald, anything to add?
No, I can mirror the comments and support the opinion of the trail manager that the parts that he did mow, he did an adequate job. In driving the trail, both solo and with Linda, I have not seen the number of stump hits or problems that he claims. I don't know that we've cut 300 trees in 1 year's time since the last time he was out. We have to argue we haven't, but if they were smaller or further off the trail than normal. That being said, Mr. Litchfield's a small businessman operating apparently a 1 or 2 person business, and he's not as proficient at perhaps laying out his terms. I mean, we had a proposal from him for $3,000. it didn't cover damage, it didn't cover excessive time on the trail, et cetera, et cetera. He figured he'd get it done in 2 days, and frankly, he couldn't. He had equipment problems. So I'm kind of in the same boat as well. Do we want to burn this bridge and just not use him anymore? Pay him in full and hope that things get better next year? I'm glad it isn't just my decision, but that's where things are right now. He could have easily mowed the rest of the trail. There was nowhere near the stumps and that he claimed there were on that portion either. I think it was a 2-day thing. He figured he'd get in and out for 2 days for $3,000. He encountered problems, which is not the first time. The first time they came out, his father had all kinds of problems with equipment breaking, and in the village, we helped him weld up his equipment, get it fixed back running. It took an extra day or whatever. And that's where I think the sticking point is he planned on 2 days. It was going to take longer, and he didn't want to do it any longer. So that's my rationalization.
Councilor Wakefield.
Listening to everyone and understanding that Mr. Litchfield is owns a small business, it seems like we'll learn by our mistakes on both sides. As speaking from Mr. Knoll, maybe it would be best because to pay him his $1,000, let him finish the job. Because right now, from what I'm hearing, the closest one is like 3 times more money, even with the $1,000 added, it costs more. However, the next time, we know how to make a contract. We're not responsible for damage. We're not responsible for stumps. We're not responsible for this. Do you agree? And have it all filled out and signed instead of a verbal. Well, it's going to cost me $1,500 more. Your mistake in it is you should have said submit it in writing, which he did, for approval of the board. Everything's going to get moved back a month. Do you want to do that? And if he said, I'd like to move forward with it, say then it's moving forward with the $3,000, that'll be it. That's your call, not ours. But I think Mr. Knoll is right. I think we should just bite the bullet and pay him his balance and let him finish the job, and hopefully next year it'll go better.
Let me go to Aaron here first. Aaron, if Parks and Rec were to do this job, what would you think would be your cost to do it as a Parks and Recreation job? I'm putting you on the spot. Just give us a ballpark of, are we getting a good deal by, what I'm hearing is paying him the extra $1,000 and saying $4,000 is a great deal, even though it isn't what the agreement says?
I mean, he's pretty reasonable. We've used him in the park. We haven't, I don't know if we'll continue to use him in our parks, to be honest. But, I mean, his price is reasonable. The quality that we get out of it was probably comparable to the price, to be honest.
Okay. Vice Chair McDonald.
In having looked at the trail 2 days ago from Rochester Road North, it doesn't need to be mowed. Winter's going to knock down most of what could have been mowed. There's no tree branches or anything. There's no new trees in that area. It's just doesn't need to be mowed. I say if we want to close this out, my opinion is that we just pay him the $3,000, and he wants to bid us next year higher with conditions that we've discussed. That's what we should do.
Do you concur, Linda?
I think so, yes.
So we can, I mean, that can be a motion, but when I'm hearing that we pay him $3,000 for the job that he's done and move on, and next year's another year for needing, do we need another mow next year? Do you feel we do?
I think that we probably could go a year or two without it. We've been very aggressive in the last few years as far as getting things under control. And I just want to make sure we keep a close eye on it because I don't want to backslide. That stuff goes so fast. If you are not paying attention, it will shock you.
Okay, all right. So what's council's pleasure here?
I'd like to make a motion to authorize payment of the $3,000 for the current contract. And that's it.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Vice Chair McDonald, second by Councilor Knoll to approve the existing contract for $3,000 for Litchfield mowing. Further discussion on that motion? Okay, if not, we'll do a roll call, please.
Councilor Wadman,
Yes.
Curtis Wright,
Yes.
Jonathan Knoll,
Yes.
Mike McDonald, yes. Joe Madore,
Yes.
Bruce Pearson,
Yes.
Ed Brakefield, Donnie Steele,
Yes.
motion carried.
So, I will call Mr. Litchfield, let him know what our decision was. Linda, if you want to join me in that phone call, or anybody can do that if they want, but it's just a call, let them know where we're at, see where it goes. Okay, next item on the agenda, which was added, was the insurance for parcel 0909283-012 in Orion Township. Treasurer Steele, you added the agenda item, so I'll let you take the lead.
Okay, just real quick, I hate to keep bringing this back, I'd like to just go away from this meeting to try to just build a house. So, but I'm just trying to do the driveway, and the way that it was written in the license agreement, the insurance requirements are designed as if I were a corporation. So if I were to hold harmless the Pollyant Trail and Orion Township, indemnify and the umbrella, I can't get a personal insurance policy. That's a corporation's insurance policy. So I have to be a corporation to be able to provide that. So that's one. So I thought, well, I'll get the excavator to provide the commercial insurance to indemnify Orion Township and the trail, and to serve, to meet all the requirements. And so he gave like a policy, just like Litchfield did, that looks identical, that commercial policy that's on page 23 in our board book. It looks just like that. And I forwarded it over to Keith Potter because he does the MA insurance for the Pollyant Trail. So I figured if he approved it, then you guys would be satisfied that I have the correct insurance to be able to do work. Well, he said according to the easement and the policy that was provided, that it doesn't comply with the actual license agreement. And according to my excavator, to get all the requirements that is asked for in our easement, that policy would cost $10,000, which is more than the work that's being done. So it puts me in another spot. So what we should have done when we wrote the easement agreement is to have Keith give us the criteria of how the insurance should have been provided for future use. So now I can't move forward because I can't get insurance. The insurance that's being asked for far exceeds the project, and so my contractor can't move forward. So I have passed all this along to Curtis on a phone call. It's a long, lots of words. And I asked if he would please call Keith to, verify what I'm saying is accurate and that I'm not making this stuff up. So it looks like I can do my work. So Keith and Curtis have talked, and so I'm just hoping that the council will allow Curtis and the manager to administratively approve the insurance policy so I can start excavating the driveway before the snow flies. And if I wait until January, it's not going to happen, and it puts back the whole project easily months. You know how this all goes. So I can't make that motion, but if I were to make a motion, that would be the motion that I make.
All right, so for an update is, I talked to Keith Potter on that as well. The sticking point is a $2 million policy on the umbrella coverage, as I understand it. And he said he could live with a $1 million policy. I don't know if that changes the rate you would pay on this, Donnie, but I did email Lisa Hamame to get in touch with Keith Potter to to see if that language would suffice in order to protect the Pollyant Trail. And Keith Potter indicated to me that he was comfortable with the $1 million of that umbrella coverage because he thought it was somewhat high. On the other hand, he's the one that suggested the $2 million umbrella policy starting off. So that's where it's at right now. I don't know what else to tell council as far as, are you agreeable to what you're hearing as far as, are you comfortable with the $1 million of umbrella coverage versus $2 million if that's the sticking point? If not, then the $2 million umbrella policy sticks for our protection from the Pollyant Trail Council. And in this case, that's going to be the cost to get that coverage. Go ahead, Bruce.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept $1 million. Addison Township accepts $1 million on all of our projects. Anybody who works on the township properties, I think that's more than adequate. I don't think there should be a game stopper at all.
I seconded that.
Okay, I'm going to give it to Councilor Nold on the second for the $1 million of umbrella coverage. I guess, Treasurer Steele, is there anything that would constitute needing more on that from the construction of the residence or putting in a septic field? Anything else that we're not seeing?
Well, yeah, the septic field, oh, you can see my hand. The septic field is on our parcel, so that won't even be a part of the trail at all. So that's on the other side. And it just so happens, his name is Jay Septic, and he will put the septic field in and the driveway. So it's one excavator, so which is better because then you have less people going back and forth. And we've worked with him for multiple years. So that's one. And two is I have an umbrella policy. So I do have $1 million liability in umbrella. It just doesn't hold you guys harmless, but it holds all my parcels as an umbrella for liability for my homeowner's insurance. So I do have that myself. And I can provide that policy to you guys as well. But I'm just looking at Litchfield's. I don't see him even having an umbrella on his liability insurance. So I don't know.
No, there isn't. There's no umbrella liability at all.
So and he's on there for 15 miles, and I'm just saying, well, you know, he doesn't have to do it. Why should I have to do it? But I'm not really saying that, but maybe if that's what we really do want, if we really do want, then we need to say that we want it for our contractors as well, so.
Oh, we will. And maybe the sticking point is he's a business and you're not.
But the policy will be through the septic field, not me. His commercial, the excavator will provide you guys
Okay.
the policy indemnified.
Go ahead, Mike.
In the simplest terms, a property owner cannot obtain coverage on the easement for liability in the name of Pollyant Trail or the DNR. That's what you've learned.
Yes.
So, the question is you must have insurance to cover liability for yourself if somebody gets hurt on the easement. Right. Because it's if it's your fault, let's put it that way.
Right.
So, our easement policy, if Potter can make something work, suggest something that will work, we can change it, or we can add that the chairperson and the trail manager may make amendments as necessary based on the facts at hand for whatever the scope of work would be and the liability. And I'll make that a motion.
We're at a motion on the
We
floor.
already have a
The motion on the floor
So,
for that. Okay, let's vote on this motion. Everybody know what the motion is? It's a $1 million umbrella coverage. Okay.
And your administrator will approve it, so I don't have to come back to the council or anything. I don't know what the motion
that was all it was.
Yeah, that's all it was.
Okay.
That's all it was. This will be even more strengthened, council approves. So, Vice Chair Dunn, can you call the roll, please?
Okay,
Noel,
Yes.
Mike McDonald, yes. Joe Madore,
Yes.
Bruce Pearson,
Yes.
Ed Wakefield,
Yes.
Tommy Steele.
Abstain.
Oh, I abstain, thank you. Aaron Wiley. Yes. Bruce Wright.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried with one abstention.
Okay. So I will get with Keith Potter on that, and with Lisa as well, and make sure they're aware of what the council's decided, and move that forward. Okay, that concludes unfinished business, and moving on to new business. We have a request from Robert Brooks, who does the brush cutting and tree chipping for us. And his proposal is he wants to extend that into cutting other debris from the trail, whether it's, what is it here, autumn olive, glossy buckthorn, dead and dangerous trees, vines from live trees, work with the trail manager. So he's looking to get a one-year agreement for $3,600. Can be terminated at any time to either party, but to me, here we go again. This looks just like what we just went through with the Litchfield agreement. I don't necessarily have a problem with what he wants to do, but you know, what's the real parameters of what's going to be happening. So if council's okay with this, I'm okay with it as well. It's just a matter of making sure that, you know, insurances are provided. You know, is he able to get the coverages that are necessary for a minimum coverage for himself and for us? And Linda, you have your hand up. Go for it.
Okay. To kind of give you a little background on this, Bob and Kip have been helping us the last 3 years take the invasive species off, cut the tree. Bob is certified in invasive species removal. The $3,600 is a formula he came up with because of the cost he is incurring volunteering for us. He comes out every Thursday, every Saturday, works 3 to 4 hours. Anytime we have a storm, he and Kip go out and they help me check the trail, help remove any trees. They're pretty much my helpers. They're volunteer. But over the last couple of years, they supply all of their own equipment. They supply all their own saws, their own gas, their own oil, their own trailers, their own trucks. It's becoming a cost burden for them to volunteer because they're supplying so much of this stuff. So the $3,600 is not so much I want to get paid for my hourly wage. They're still volunteering their hours, but they're asking to offset the cost, the actual out-of-pocket expenses. The wood chipper would still be billed hourly at $46 an hour until August of 2022. And then we probably will need to negotiate that just because of the cost of diesel. So, because we did have, I believe, a 3-year commitment with that wood chipper. So that's basically the backstory. They're not asking for money to be paid to them as this is their business. They're just asking to cover the cost of expenses to actually volunteer for us. So that's what that's about.
Go ahead, Councilor Pearson.
I'd like to make a motion that we do accept the $3,600. I know how bad the trail can get. I know the invasive species, especially in the Addison Township area. And if we're getting the volunteer work and it's their equipment for $3,600, I think we're getting a real bargain. And they have been donating all their time, so I suspect that they probably incur more than $3,600 in expenses doing this work. But I think they kept their price pretty low, and I would make the motion that we accept that.
I'll second that for discussion.
Okay. Motion by Councilor Pearson, second by Councilor Knoll to accept the quote from Robert Brooks. Go ahead, Councilor Knoll.
I would add that we need workers' compensation, either a coverage policy or exemption certificate from the workers' compensation.
That kind of takes back to my question. Dovetails. So would we be hiring them as a contractor then? I guess, is that what that big relationship is? Are we reimbursing them for expenses, or are we hiring them? So therefore, they're like a company, and then they provide insurance like any other contractor. Then, if you're self-employed, you don't have workers' comp on yourself.
it's assumed that is an independent contract agreement, but as you can see in the packet, it's very vague. We're being told what we're going to be getting for the service, but we're not being told some of the more specific details of the service.
I think it makes sense to hire them and contract that with them as a service, as a company, so to speak. Maybe they have a sole proprietorship, you can get a DBA name to the county for $10, and then get insurance.
Go ahead, Councilor Brakefield.
In our agreement, we should add, as we just discovered, we're not responsible for any damage to their equipment. They have to repair their own at their expense.
Okay,
I just add one thing.
you can.
I believe if they're volunteering their services, they'll be covered. They don't have to have a workers' comp. If they change the wording on here that the 3,600 is for cost incurred, as long as they're volunteering their services, then they wouldn't need the workers' comp.
Okay, so,
Mr. Chair?
yes.
And that's after Springfield point. I agree. If they're volunteering, they're covered under our insurance. They're volunteering, let's say you're watching cars, you're helping park traffic, you're covered. You don't need to provide insurance. But once you pay them, then it's a different scenario. They're either an employee or a contractor. Unless they were turning in gas receipts for, if you buy gas cards and you provide them with gas cards, then you're paying the gas cards and expenses them to the trail, providing them as a reimbursement of those expenses as if you're doing the work yourself. There's just two different scenarios of way to help.
Drum Manager Moran.
I have checked multiple times with Keith Potter, our insurance agent. If a volunteer is volunteering their hours, they are covered under our insurance. So I would highly recommend and suggest that we write up an agreement with Mr. Brooks that they are volunteering their hours, and this is just a reimbursement for gas equipment, not laborers. And spell it out specifically. Ms. Brakefield did mention you're not responsible for any kind of breakage or repair of any equipment.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve the contract or the agreement or proposal for $3,600. That was recommended to amend that motion to include insurance certificate for workers' comp. Then we've had further discussion. The motion on the floor now is for $3,600. Do we want to continue with that motion? The motion.
I can add on to my motion that we will, exactly what we said, write in that it has to be a voluntary donation of their labor, but we're paying expenses of their equipment. That helps in the motion.
Is you going to amend your motion to?
Paying the expenses of $3,600 and allowing them to volunteer their time. Does that make sense? Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
I agree with that, I would second that, but the concern I have is the write-up. We need to be very clear what they're going to do with the equipment on the trail. And when you start talking about dead and dangerous trees and things, that gets people excited, in my view. But I'll second the motion if it was for equipment, rental of equipment, or usage of the equipment only. Labor is provided on volunteer labor. And they would need to sign that, I think.
Okay, does council see any issues with that motion? We're going to find out right now. We've got two motions on the floor. We'll vote on the amended motion first, then on the main motion. The amended motion is paying the expenses and the volunteer of the, Mr. Brooks. Is he going to be solely the one working this, or is?
Kip will be with them as well, so I'll
Okay.
have both signed.
So, okay. All right, I don't know if council understands that motion or not.
So we're gonna pay for the equipment.
And gas.
And gas, and he pays for the repairs, and he's a volunteer, and he's gonna sign an indemnification, or if he's a waiver, that he's a volunteer when he does work. And anybody that works with him is gonna sign that as well. Correct, that's what I understood.
Correct. That is correct.
Okay, I don't know if we understand, but let's take a roll call vote on the motion paying expenses and for volunteering of his time on that. So can you call the roll on that, please? Vice Chair McDonald.
Would you mind if I kind of said the motion, just so that I understand? I'm trying to
Sure,
follow.
that's totally fine. And
So
then,
there's a motion by Member Pearson, pay $3,600 for the use of the volunteer equipment and fuel, as long as they have a waiver of liability as volunteers on the trail. Is that right?
I think that's pretty close.
I think they added a few things that's pretty important, that we're paying for the equipment, not the maintenance.
let's call the roll on it.
Okay.
Close enough.
We'll start with Joe Madore.
I'm gonna say no, just because there's someone asking questions for me.
Bruce Pearson
Yes.
at Brakefield.
I almost have to say no, because it didn't include the comments that Donnie had,
What else
that we're not responsible for repairs.
So you're a no?
He's a no.
Okay.
Donnie Steele,
Yes.
Aaron Watley. Yes. Curtis Wright.
No.
I'll vote no.
Jonathan Moe.
No.
Mike McDonald. Yes.
Is that 4-4?
Motion fails.
Okay, motion fails. Now we're going to go to the original motion of approving the $3,600 for the services of Mr. Brooks. We'll call the roll on that.
Wait, I'm confused. Okay, what are we doing here?
Okay, that's why we vote accordingly.
I thought that they work their buns off, and they give so much time and effort that it's incredible. And that us paying $3,600 is so minimal to have them do the back-breaking labor that they do and get volunteers. So all we're asking is that we pay for the use of his equipment and their gasoline. And I'm making a motion.
No, can't make a motion. Motion's on the floor.
Okay. Oh, then you're-
But we can vote down the motion on the floor and opens it up
Come back
to
for another
another.
Okay.
So, can't.
So the motion is to approve the $3,600. So we're not further discussing, we're going to vote. So let's vote on this. Call roll now.
Bruce Pearson,
No.
Ed Brakefield, Donnie Steele,
Yes.
Aaron Watley.
No.
Curtis Wright,
No.
Jonathan Noel,
No.
Mike McDonald, no. Joe Madore.
No.
Okay, that motion fails. Okay, so speaking from the chair's chair, I would say that we bring this back in January with a polished up type of document that would allow us to all know what we're voting on, as well as Mr. Brooks. And that way there, we can all go away saying, we agree with what's going on here. This is simple. I don't think, Donnie, to your comments, anybody's disagreeing that he does a great job and the price is great, but we want to protect ourselves and we want to protect him as well.
I'll make a motion to set this item aside for our January meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Councilor Vice Chair McDonald, second by Councilor Knoll to set aside or table till the January 19th, 2022 meeting. Donnie, did you have a comment?
We're not going to lose any time from now.
With the holidays and whatnot, I mean, we're still working out there. This is just, he's no longer driving long haul trucks because of recent events in the news. So he is not financially able to keep giving the trail gas. And, my husband's been sharpening the blades and things for him, to try to help offset costs. It's expensive for him to volunteer for us, and I worship at the ground. I worship at his feet. I can't survive without these two guys. These are
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Okay, next on our agenda are the 2021 budget amendments. Council, I put together the budget amendments, and you can see that that's just through December 10th. I do have to make an amendment because I didn't know what was going to be happening with the Litchfield bill for $3,000. So I'm going to have to amend the budget at least for, will that be a maintenance of grounds? So the maintenance of grounds is going to raise up $3,000 to $16,000 on the amended budget. And then that offset will be pulling money out of our fund balance. So the fund balance will increase $3,000 or increase to $4,472 if my math is correct. So with that, you're going to have revenues and expenses balancing at $71,935 according to my math. So I don't know, Linda, is there anything there that you can see that was missed as far as anything more coming in?
We should be getting some more money in, but I don't think we'll have any more expenses going out.
Now, you did indicate the Snyder donation. Is that going to be 2021 or 2022?
I should have it by the end of the year, I pray. Again, with Christmas coming up, it may not actually be received until January, but it is for the 2021 year.
Okay.
They'll have it's coming out of Schneider's funding for the 2021 year, and that's an additional $4,000.
Yeah, I don't know council's pleasure as well. I think we'll just let that ride. If it comes in 2022, we'll expect it to be there.
Okay.
And if not, through the audit, we'll be able to actually make that adjusted journal entry on that. Any further questions from council? Any amendments?
What was the final total then?
Right now, I have $71,935 because I will add the Litchfield expense, because if he gets paid in 2021, I'll be over budget on that line item. Treasurer Steele, any comment on any of these?
No, thank you for providing.
Okay.
I still didn't get the final one. What was that?
$71,935.00.
And you bumped up maintenance and grounds to expense of $19,000?
Yes, and then offset that with opening fund balance. Adding $3,000 to that final budget number to be $4,472, which will also reduce the fund balance at the bottom, just for reference. So if there's no further questions, motion is in order for the budget amendment for 2021.
So moved.
Okay, we got a motion by Councilor Madore. I got a second by Councilor Wiley to approve the Pioneer Trailway Management Council 2021 amended budget with revenues and expenditures balancing at $71,935. Any further comments, questions, concerns? If not, Vice Chair McDonald, can you call the roll on this, please?
Yes. Ed Brakefield?
Yes.
Connie Steele?
Yes.
Aaron Wiley?
Yes.
Curtis Wright?
Yes.
Jonathan Noel?
Yes.
Mike McDonald, yes. Joe Madore?
Yes.
Okay, motion carried.
Okay.
Yes.
Apologies, Mr. Pearson.
He's on his line, isn't he?
I'm starting to get a complex.
I'm not a professional. I'm not a professional, please.
All right, I don't know if this is the highlight of our meeting, but it's the election of the 2022 Poly and Trailway Management Council officers. For the first item or position for appointment is the chairperson. Anybody?
Is Allison still going to be here?
Councilman Madore can actually.
She's still our official rep. I'm only an alternate that will fill in her absence. So my understanding is I'm ineligible for office.
Let's take a vote on it.
I am not.
Joe Young used to take minutes for us.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, he did.
if I could ask one simple question before the vote. If there's no objection, could we just keep the same officers and cut to the chase?
I'll second that.
There you go.
I'll vote yes.
There you go.
Well,
If they're willing.
If they're willing.
The minutes is, because Allison works, it's difficult for her to be here, and he needs him to take minutes. So I would, you know, I'm thankful that Mike has done it, but we might need to look at that. Maybe swap over that or something.
And I have to give credit to where credit is due. Curtis has been instrumental in getting the minutes done. I bow to his expertise, but I'm worried about, if I remember, we may remember that Allison indicated at our last meeting she was late because she was working.
Right.
And she really did not seem enthused about remaining as secretary because of that, I believe. But maybe I read too much into it.
Right, Bruce?
Mr. Curtis, are you doing the actual minutes, or are you getting, you have some staff that helps you with that, or?
They're coming from me.
come from
They're
your-
coming from me.
That's a lot on your plate.
Well, once you get a set process in place, you're pretty much just filling in the blanks. Because if you look at our minutes, they're motions of action. There only be some discussion, you know, but for the most part, what the motion is that you see in your packet, you just paste it in there, as long as that's what council goes with. And when it's like when you get additions to the agenda, you have to go back on the tape and listen to it and so that.
I would offer that if somebody would like to be vice chair, I would consider, I know there's a motion on the floor, isn't there?
No, there's zero motions, recommendation
Put a flag on it.
to,
Come on, everybody voted yes.
there's a recommendation to do all 4 positions in one motion. That's a proposal, not a formal
And
motion.
keep them exactly, but I'm going to pull my motion.
All right.
I'm just offering if you would prefer to have a secretary.
All right, so,
I would be willing to do that if somebody wanted to step up for the vice chair.
okay.
So
So,
vice chair is a cushy job, by the way. I mean, that's, with Curtis as chair, it's real easy.
there's no takers for secretary, so it's the classic, anybody wants to volunteer, step forward, and everybody's taking a step back with you. So,
Everybody's saying that.
that's where you're getting close to being the only one.
Look at me. That's what you're looking at.
Look at me.
Again, I don't know how often I'll be here on her behalf. I know she still wishes to be here, and so it's hard for me to speak on her behalf or to what extent she can be here.
Can you consider, I mean, this is just me putting my nose in again, but could you consider you being the vice chair and you be the member and her be the alternate? You would have to make it, you would have to do that, of course, at council level.
Rather than say, I didn't make the choice.
Right.
I just informed them at the end of the council meeting of this November that you'd made some changes and then I might be eligible to be on there. And the motion came out of left field, to make me the alternate, take Paul off as alternate, make me the alternate. They didn't consider removing Allison or making me the delegate. They just put me in as a backup.
Go ahead, Bruce.
May I ask Ed Brakefield, since he's been one of the founders on the trail, would he like to be vice chairman?
Are you implying I'm the old man here?
Yes, well, you have been on the trail, you're one of the
I don't care.
beginners on this whole trail. It all started with you and a few other people.
I don't care.
Vice chair, I mean, he's kind of my right-hand man when it comes to meetings, so.
As long as Mike says a cushy job, I don't care, so go ahead.
Just run the meeting in Curtis's absence, right?
Yeah.
Well, these are big, fat meetings when you have to do all the work. I mean, it's not
Well-
like running the meetings when somebody does all the stuff.
That's, I mean, I think Curtis might still be doing the labor, but if he had a conflict, that's when you would need the vice chair to step up. Unless it was he's out sick for 2 weeks and the fact it's not getting together. That would make it more work.
I was chair in the past, so
Yeah.
I know how to.
You've been here since the beginning.
Oh, I'm just saying, I think
You
Curtis
had different managers.
might be small opportunity to have to fill in.
Let's be honest.
Could I make a motion then that we keep all of the people on the board as we have have it, except the secretary will be Mike McDonald and the vice chairman will be Ed Bringfield.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to appoint Curtis Wright as chair of Pollyant Trail, Ed Brakefield as vice chair of the Pollyant Trail, Mike McDonald as secretary to the Pollyant Trail, and Donnie Steele to continue as treasurer on the Pollyant Trail. Any further discussion? If not, let's do a roll call on this. Soon to be secretary.
I'll say yes before you forget me.
You messed things up. Bruce Pearson?
Yes?
Ed Brakefield? No. Donnie Steele?
Yes.
Aaron Wadley?
Yes.
Curtis Wright?
Yes.
Jonathan Noel?
Yes.
Mike McDonald? Yes. Joe Medora?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Motion
Not
carries.
unanimous.
Congratulations.
Yeah, there's 61, all right.
Thanks,
71.
Curtis.
Okay.
Thanks, Joe Ferrari for doing
Thanks.
this. Sure.
Okay, that's out of the way. The next item, which is pretty painless, is the 2022 meeting schedule. I guess the only thing is, and I brought this up before, 3 o'clock still works for everybody?
Yeah, 3 o'clock.
Okay, all right.
I'll make the motion to accept the 2022 meeting schedule for the Pollyant Trail Management Council.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Councilor Pearson, second by Councilor Knoll to approve the 2022 meeting schedule as presented. Any further discussion? Yes.
One change for the December 21st.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Sorry, that was my mistake.
Good catch, Donnie. Now, can I get an amended motion, please, Councilor Pearson?
What do we need?
We need to take this and put this in Orion Township offices.
Oh, okay, Orion Township officers. That'll be my amendment.
And an amendment to the motion, Councilor Knoll.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Make the motion?
Councilor Pearson, second by Councilor Knoll, to approve the meeting schedule as amended with the December 21st meeting at the Orion Township offices. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next up on the agenda, we were supposed to have a Christmas parade, as well you know we didn't, for several reasons. And there was $30 paid for the entry fee, and Manager Moran asked that I put this on the agenda to get council's direction what they wanted to do with the money. So whether they want it to be refunded, held till next parade it goes on, donated to the victims, or something else. So motions in the packet with the blank to be filled in. So any direction, Councilor Pearson?
I'd say we just add it on to next year's thing. I don't think as a nonprofit we can donate it to any other more nonprofits as such, but if we just keep it and have it so that we're prepaid for next year.
Second.
Okay. A motion by Councilor Pearson, second by Councilor Knoll to retain the funding until the 2022 Oxford Chamber of Commerce Parade. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Let's do a roll call on this because it deals with money. Secretary McDonald?
Ed Brakefield?
Yes.
Donnie Steele?
Yes.
Aaron Wadley? Yes. Curtis Wright?
Yes.
Jonathan Noel?
Yes.
Mike McDonald? Yes. Joe Medora?
Yes.
Yes,
Bruce Pearson?
okay.
Okay, next items we added are, this wasn't added, well, it was the banner on the Larry O'Brien Bridge. Council did approve previously, back in August, to allow the Chamber of Commerce to do the Christmas lighting. Since the situation in Oxford has occurred, it's been replaced with an Oxford Strong banner. And according to our motion, the banner for the Chamber of Commerce was allowed to be on the bridge until January 22nd. For me personally, I have no issues with how long they want to leave that banner on Pollyant Trail Bridge, but council needs to decide if they want to make a change in that, and also I think we would have to acquiesce to MDOT, Village of Oxford, and or the Chamber of Commerce. So I'll open up the floor. How do you like to proceed?
I know what it does, the MDOT closure permit for all that. It's technically only supposed to be up for 3 weeks, but they kind of looked at the way around Christmas time and let us keep it up to the holidays. So even January 22nd is a stretch. So I could find out from them what their feelings are to extend it out.
Okay.
Maybe get that back to myself or to an email to you, if that's even an option.
Yeah, because, well,
Should we define how much we would extend it so that, I mean,
that's what I'm
we're
looking
gonna
for.
say, when are you gonna, yeah.
You know, I mean, this is January, do you want a 6-month extension on the motion that we approved? Make it out to June 18th, or July 18th?
And I don't think our council would be concerned about it either way. It's just, it's an MDOT issue that would probably drive the decision one way or the other. If you guys are okay with going out as far as long MDOT approves, or at a certain date, that might be good. It might come down January 22nd or middle of January, we might get some.
So we can wait until next month, doing nothing, because it's still approved through a day before our meeting next month. So,
If we put the date not to exceed 6 months, then it'll leave the door wide open and they can do anything they want to do.
Councilor Pearson?
Well, I was just gonna say we table this until next one, I'm gonna kind of get the information.
All right. Council has no objection, we will put it back on the agenda next month for an update on the banner.
And I'll try to get some outreach to my person at TSC and find out the permit we put in for was with Christmas parade banners, even that show proofs of, they want to see what the banner says, make sure there's no advertising and stuff on it. So maybe I can just reapply for this one to get a further extension as well.
Okay. All right. So you'll provide us an update on it. All right. Good. Last item of new business that's been added is a letter of support for the Village of Leonard for a park grant. Vice Chair McDonald, will you take the lead?
Thank you. Essentially, the village is going to make an application for the Oakland County Parks Grant, not the Trailway Grant, but the Parks. And our plan is to perform we're asking for a pre-development grant to do an engineering study to improve the intersection where the Pollyant Trail and the Leonard Nature Park meet, because the park abuts the trail at one corner. And we're going to put in sidewalks and access controls. At the very least, we're going to restripe the trail and the future sidewalk, planned sidewalk. So since it would benefit both the Pollyant Trail and the village to have that kind of intersection, I'm asking if the council would authorize the chairman to sign a letter of support for our application for that purpose.
Second?
Okay, motion by Treasurer Steele, second by Councilor Pearson to authorize the chairperson to provide a letter of support for sign the letter. Okay.
I've got it. So.
Okay, all right. To sign, thank you, Treasurer Steele. Okay, with that, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Okay, public comment, nobody has showed up to our meeting. We'll go to council comments. We'll start with Councilor Madore.
I just want to say thanks. Happy holidays. Hope everyone has a blessed and joyous Christmas to get us over the hump of all that's going on in our neighborhood lately.
All right, Councilor Knoll.
It's exciting to see things happen, move along. It's exciting to see the board work so well to close of the year to wait through some of the sticky wickets that we have. So just wish you a happy holiday and help us to move forward.
Councilor Pearson.
And I'd like to say that the trail is being used more and more. I see it every day. This is a great thing from when it started many years ago to where it is now. We've made great progress.
Councilor Watley.
I will continue to pray for the Oxford community and the families. We wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And a much better 2022.
Thank you. Treasurer Steele.
Amen, brother, that's my comment.
Vice Chair McDonald.
Just want to thank everyone for their support of our application for the park in the village and the Pollyant Trail, and wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year despite, and hopefully it'll be a better year because we've come together as communities. Thank you.
Councilor Brakefield.
I just want to follow up with what Mike said. It's pretty remarkable that we have 3 townships and 3 communities all working together on the same mindset. That's not something we should throw aside, so congratulations, Pollyant. And thank you for putting me in vice chair.
Awesome. Okay, we'll go to Kevin, Lyndon, and I'll finish up.
Just want to wish everyone a happy holiday and enjoy serving on this council. I did want to say that I won't be here again when we come back.
You're up, Linda.
I just want to say thank you, everybody. It's great working with you, and I love working with the communities. And it's a pleasure every day. I love my job. That being said, we got a $10,000 check from the Fort County Community Foundation the other day.
Great.
We're getting another $4,000 from Schneider. So the money's starting to come in. We're working on it. We'll go through this park grant. We're going to get those parking lots paved. Our parking lots are better and bigger than they've ever been. And I just, Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays. Happy Festivus.
Okay, coming back to me to finish up here, just want to thank Orion Township for hosting. It's almost like we should be here every meeting now. So nice.
I won't be late.
Yes, you will not.
Yeah, but I just want to reiterate people's thoughts. We've been going through quite a bit up in Oxford here in the last few weeks, and the moment is what it was, and it never goes away, and it never will. But we move on. We move on and try to do the best we can, and try to do an outreach. And I think this council is a test to that, working together as communities and helping each other out, regardless of where events happen. Just a couple other things. Just to reiterate our year that passed, I just put a few highlights down what we've done. We've approved the master plan. We approved the milling contract for 2021, 2022, and 2023 option. We had all our documents scanned. We made numerous improvements at Water Depot, Way Station, Milk Run, Leonard Yard. Entered into a contract with Linda for her services. It expires March 31, 2023, so we have her at least for another year and 3 months, which we greatly appreciate of. We've opened up a funding deposit at Oakland County to higher interest on our monies. That's a great thing. Linda coordinated another beverage drive, got a few more dollars out of that. We have a new website contractor in Piston Grove, took over for OCS services. Hopefully that's working well, Linda.
No complaints.
Okay. We added December to the regular meeting schedule. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it takes time away from us. But we saw the meeting. If we didn't do this month, it would have doubled our meeting next month. So that's why we put December on there. We adopted the Easement Policy, and we adopted the application for that. And hopefully in 2022, we will have some permanent restrooms constructed on Water Depot and Milk Run. Now, moving forward to 2022, I provided you a long laundry list of items that hopefully we can address some of these. Just a point of order, or whatever you want to call it, is based on the census, our funding formula will change, but I haven't seen any final numbers. Does anybody know if the final numbers have come back? You know, I have a SunCog report, but we're good through 2022, but I just wonder if council wants to stay with the 2010 numbers for 2022, or whether you want to revise it. So that could be a future agenda item. The contact list, if you have any changes, let me know on this. Joe, if you're going to be moving into a permanent role for Allison and her as the alternate, then we'll revise that. I'll revise Ed as the vice chair, Mike as secretary. So if there's any changes, email address, cell phone, address, emails. So that goes. Linda, do you know if Ram will be back?
No.
Okay. Also, don't know yet. Also, there's talk in Oxford Township of upping our administrative fees. I don't say I'm fighting to keep them intact, but it's being charged now $1,000. The proposal I saw was for $2,000. I'm almost of the thought that if that's what wants to happen, to just bring them back to the council and we'll deal with their own financial issues. I'm still thinking that one over. Councilor Knoll is a fellow trustee with me on the township board, so we'll see where that goes. We'll just need to get some input on that. When is the Celebrate Trails Day going to happen this year, 2022?
Well, I'm hoping,
Yes or no? Just yes or no? You don't know.
I'm hoping to change it because Pollyant Trail is turning 25 next year.
Yeah, okay.
So I would like to
You
have,
don't have an answer.
I would like to have a 25th Jubilee celebration.
On the Celebrate Trails Day.
Well, that's coming up awfully quick. I was
Okay.
oh my God, so
All right.
to be seen.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Bruce, do you still need a special permission permit for Cody?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And I just would like everybody to know he had an operation on his leg, and it was a great success. That's one leg that was in dire trouble, and now it's all better. And when he goes to physical therapy, we get that one done, and we'll start on the other leg. So maybe someday he'll be able to walk there.
Yeah, well, that's a praise. That's great. Woodlands fundraiser, Linda, time to do that again?
We're going to do that again.
Okay,
It's-
thank you.
Yep.
Pathway Church, Donnie, any procedure to continue?
Yes.
Okay. Sunshine Park for the Rotary?
We're working.
Okay, all right. Is the Pleasant Street electrical work done, restored to your satisfaction?
Yes.
Okay. Stairway, they're still working on that? Is that, Joe, do you have anything that you have to do on that? Stairway, there's an encroaching stairway at your studio? Okay. All right. Linda, you have the ability to get a flow chart from MDNR for the contact and the people?
I have asked him several times for it.
Okay.
Not
So we'll
received.
keep asking.
Yeah.
Okay, I talked about administrative fees. Donnie, I don't know if you can answer this or not, but the vegetation for the storage yard that was approved by Ken Jimaszewski, is that something that?
It's approved. He has not moved forward with this. Yeah, it's approved, but we haven't seen the plan yet.
Okay, so he still holds us then?
Yes.
Okay. All right, are we going to continue with running portable toilets until the permanent ones are installed?
I would like to.
Okay. Do we have enough hat shirts, polo shirts, or do we need more?
At this time, I believe, probably going into 2022, we're going to need to order more hats. They were a big hit. We're
Okay.
going to have one or two
All
left.
right, so we'll see that coming in. Do you plan on the garbage container drive?
I would love to.
You would love to, but you don't know yet.
It's all up to the village of Oxford.
Okay. The last one was split up. Is the archery sign going to be repaired, or is it an abandoned project?
I would like to get it done this winter. Mark and I were waiting for time. Winter, we have time, so.
All right. Women's Club Walk?
I have talked to them. They would love to do it again. I'd like to hopefully pair that up with Trails Day and do something much like we did before.
Okay. Would that be like in June?
in June.
Okay. Any culvert repairs you need done?
No, our culverts are great. The beavers are behaving themselves on our side.
Okay. Okay. Website, you need additions, changes, or deletions?
We're gonna have to update with the meeting minutes.
Okay, all right. Talk of Friends of Pollyant Trail, they're premature.
I would love to, I just don't even know how to start it. The hours and time, I'm going to need help. I would like to. I have been attending some of the Friends of the Paint Creek Trail meetings. I think I'm now been converted, Johnny's correct, they're a great organization. I just don't have the time to run them.
Okay, no, understood. And how many signs do we have left to sell, the old ones?
5.
5.
I just sold them last month.
Okay. And the King property acquisition you talked about a year or so ago, is that a dead issue?
At this point, it's just got a head in it, right?
Okay, all right. Your bicycle fixing stations,
All up and running and in good order.
how many do we have?
5.
5. Okay, great. You gonna do the garlic mustard event again?
Yes.
Okay. And signs on the trail, do we need any that needs to be replaced? Additional wants to go on? Okay, so we're good there. Kroger donation program, I put that on there because if nobody is enrolled in that, it's recommended you do that on behalf of the Pollyant Trail. We'll get a few dollars on that. So,
Yeah. We have 24 families that are signed up for it. We get about $50 a quarter. I actually printed out a bunch more. I'm going to put a big push on it this year. That's passive money. I mean, we don't have to do anything, and it just comes to us.
any equipment that's needed, Linda, because it's kind of middle of the road because you contract with us and
Right. We don't really need any equipment. In the spring, we need to take a hard look at getting rid of some of the stuff that we needed in the past that we no longer need.
do you need help with that?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's just a few, push
Okay.
cards, upper stop.
All right. And asphalt repairs, we need money to be allocated for any of that stuff? Or-
Yeah, we're gonna have to take a look at that. We're gonna need to have some sealing done and some actual repairs in the village of Oxford and Oxford.
All right, so we should get some quotes on that. And then do you have your habitat mowing schedule yet?
It is always the Friday before Labor Day, Memorial Day, or Labor Day, Memorial Day, and 4th of July.
Okay, all right.
Weather permitting.
All right. My last comment is, on council comments, do you want to see those comments in the minutes or just someone made comments as a consensus?
You mean in the minutes, reflected in the minutes?
Yeah, for your comments, as you want to see them or just say you made a comment.
I don't care.
As long as it's been made, Councilor Wiley made a comment. Good way it is, okay.
I think it's 10.
During this time? Oh, the DA, I did. I was trying to rattle these off to get everybody out here. I apologize for the timing, but I thought it was important. Linda, have the paintings been removed?
They have been removed, and we are only eligible for that grant every other year. So we are not eligible in 2022, but again in 2023. I'd like to see it return bigger and better.
Okay.
Can I add 2 to that list?
Go ahead, Don.
Trash at Little Caesars and Frosty Boy, I think that we need to address the proprietors. That should be their issue, not ours. And then the vandalism in Oxford, I really believe that we need a powwow or something to be done with the village council and the police, because we have a council and a police, and that should be our issue as well here. The police, the vandalism in the village of Oxford, it's become Linda's issue, it's not fair.
Since I did put the camera in Way Station, we haven't had any additional vandalism. We did have some gunplay over there.
Okay, I know it's like a rapid fire issue, but I wanted to get those out, so it gives you a little flavor of what we're trying to get during 2022. So with that, if there's no further comments, we will adjourn our meeting. I don't know what time it is. We'll just get a motion in a second.
4:43.
4:43, so I need a motion to adjourn the meeting at 4:43 p.m. Motion by Watley, second by Pearson to adjourn the meeting at 4:43. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.